The Wes Buck Show.
It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. This is the biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred.
Speaking his mind.
I've never had a problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way.
Exploring hot topics.
Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do.
And spreading the gospel of drag racing.
I respect the history. I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. This is the great American motorsport, drag racing.
The Wes Buck Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022. I hope you are doing well. We have an action-packed show for you guys today. Tons of stuff to cover. What a week. What a season it has been here in drag racing. I tell you what, I don't know that I have, not in recent memory, can I really identify a season that has been as exciting as this, especially when you talk about the National Hot Rod Association. The Camping World Drag Racing Series obviously rolled into the second to last stop on the 2022 tour this past weekend at the Strip at the luxurious Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the NHRA Nevada Nationals. Massive turnout of fans, spectators lining the fences, filling the stands. We had a huge event down at the Texas Motorplex right down the road from me in Dallas, outside of Dallas, for the No Prep Kings season finale. We also had No Mercy 13, one of the biggest small tire drag races on the planet Earth, taking over South Georgia Motorsports Park and everything in between. It's a wild time for the sport of drag racing. We have a ton of guests lined up for you today. We're going to be joined here, I believe, about 2:30, 2:45 by Victor Alvarez from Bradenton Motorsports Park. We're also going to check in with Micke, doorslammer drag racing superstar, one of, I think, a real star personality, star character in the sport of drag racing. And we will round out today's show with PDRA Pro Nitrous heavyweight Tommy Franklin, who is also the owner of Virginia Motorsports Park and, of course, the Professional Drag Racing Association. But we do have a ton of stuff to cover, and I appreciate you guys all being here. Seriously, this is episode 281 of the Wes Buck Show, and as tired as I have gotten at times of hearing my own voice and saying my own name out loud, I cannot tell you guys, I really have, man. I cannot tell all of y'all how much it means to us that you join us each and every Wednesday to talk shop, to spread the gospel of drag racing. It really means the world to all of us. So thank you guys. Remember, if you're watching along, click like, click share, click subscribe. If you're following along on YouTube, we appreciate the support. If you're listening on iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Play, Spotify, etc., thanks for tuning in. Again, leave a review. Help us share this. Help us spread this, what I think is kind of some just endless positivity about the sport of drag racing. There's so many things going on. It's easy to beat it down. It's easy to separate the masses and get everybody in their own little clique. But man, if you really take a 30,000-foot look at the sport of drag racing, these are high times, my friends. Before I get any further along, I'd like to go ahead and introduce my co-host here on the show, the ones and the onlys, Mike Carpenter and Murder JT Hudson. What's up, dog? You guys doing well? You're kind of blurry on my screen today, JT.
Oh, yeah?
But that's okay. It'll probably stabilize. What's going on, guys? You doing well?
Doing good, man. You talk about positivity for drag racing. What a weekend for drag racing, man. I mean, coast to coast.
I meant to post photos of this even on my personal page, but I just forgot. But to see the grandstands like overflowing with humanity at the Texas Motorplex for No Prep Kings season finale, their season 5 season finale, see the same thing taking place out at Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the NHRA Nevada Nationals, and then turning our attention down south for a record number of entries, huge fan following down at Donald Long's production with No Mercy 13. Those are like 3 really dramatically different parts of our sport, but they were all looking like $1 million, you know? And it's just, what a moment. Mike, you were actually down here in Dallas. We don't have that, but I mean, we don't have that as our first question, but we've got a slew of things we're going to cover here today. But I do want to ask, I mean, what was your impression of the No Prep Kings season finale there?
It was impressive. That's the first time I've been there for an entire event for the whole weekend. And I saw Andy Carter, who was formerly with the Motorplex, who's now with the Pilgrim Street Outlaws production, state that was the largest crowd in the history of Texas Motorplex. And that's a place that has been packing them in for over 30 years. So super impressive. The fan base is engaged, buying every piece of merchandise they can get their hands on, cheering for their drivers, cheering, loudly, almost like you're at a pro sports game. And just an all around impressive deal, man, and some great racing. And it kind of reinforced that they've really got it going on over there. I came away impressed.
I agree, man. I mean, I was only there for a little while on Sunday. I snuck in. Shout out to the gang at the Motorplex.
It took you a couple hours to get in, right? With the traffic.
It really did, man. I mean, the traffic was insane.
We were staying in Ennis, and there's the little town, and then you start to head out 287. As soon as you got out of Ennis, boom, there's traffic lined up along the shoulder to get into Texas Motorplex.
Good to hear.
To be honest, it was the first time that I've seen that type of. It felt like a real moment in time, personally. Like if I think back to the ADRL glory days at Rockingham or in St. Louis or at Houston, in those crowds and the traffic and the news stations circling overhead and helicopters, it had that kind of electricity about it. Really, really, really diverse group of people. I was blown away. I've been to several of these events at this point, but to see that one this close to home and the fan turnout and be able to kind of look at them side by side a couple of weeks apart. We had the NHRA national event a few weeks ago. We have No Prep King season finale roll in this past weekend. To see those events so close together and to see that kind of fanfare at both of them in the same market, massively impressive. And I think it really means that everybody involved in all of those different walks of the drag racing life are doing a damn good job. But so there's a lot.
That also means to me that there's two different fans out there. I think the No Prep Kings deal attracts a different fan. I think there are some hardcore drag racing fans there. There's some gearheads, there's some hot rodders, but a lot of them are there to see their favorite reality TV stars.
Yeah, they're right, man. They're getting to see a celebrity, basically. Yeah, it's like going to
there's
concert.
Something that I think everybody kind of needs to wrap their head around. Well, hey, I tell you what, there's a lot of storylines that we want to dive into today. I know that there are a ton of people joining in to hear our major announcement that will be coming in the next few minutes. We appreciate your patience on that. But there's a ton of storylines unfolding in the sport of drag racing. This past weekend, again, at the NHRA Nevada Nationals, we saw Tony Stewart, NASCAR Hall of Famer, former IndyCar world champion, make his competition debut behind the wheel of the McPhillips family top alcohol dragster. We saw Erica Enders absolutely dominate en route to her 5th world championship. She is clearly entering rare air as a drag racing driver. I would argue the greatest female race car driver of all time. We saw Brittany Force steamroll the field, set low ET of the entire event, top speed of the meet, qualify number 1 and win the race, pure domination, and set herself up for a really good shot at the title come Pomona. Justin Ashley bowing out early. There's so many the Titanic matchup we had in the final round of Funny Car. Holy moly, Robert Height and Matt Hagan going head to head. I don't know what more you could ask for, guys. Let's just kind of dive through each and every one of these items we seeing in the comments here. Yeah, we posted this late last night, but kind of a well-known thing at this point in time. Lyle Barnett, longtime pro mod driver, small tire racer, made a few passes behind the wheel of Randy Myers, a fuel dragster, earning his crossing over from a pro modified license to a top alcohol license.
And really, got Tony really cool. Stewart to sign his license.
Cool.
I think that's the first one, awesome. Right? That's the first drag racing license that Tony has signed, which is just another cool, just a cool thing, man. I mean, you can't ask for more than that. And another sign that Tony gets it, and he's involved, and he's buying into drag racing in a big way.
So let's talk on that right away here, and I'll toss it to you guys momentarily. What was your initial impression, or what do you think the ultimate ramifications of Tony Stewart's involvement as a driver, in drag racing? I mean, it's been fantastic. Obviously, we've seen kind of the proof in the pudding of having him as a team owner. Definitely a needle mover, a difference maker, whether he's on the television broadcast, whether he's in the pits, wherever Tony goes, he's a difference maker. But now seeing him actually in competition and, reading the tea leaves and talking to some people that were near and dear to the situation, the hook is set. From all indications, Homeboy is all about drag racing, and
we're gonna have to get him back on here
for the sport.
We are get him back on here and talk to him about his experience. But from the first run, I think we were all watching on NHRA TV and chatting it up in Slack about in anticipation for that first run on Friday. And it was Friday, right? Or was it Thursday for those guys? Friday morning,
Friday.
maybe.
Yep.
Yeah. And he looked like he had done it a million times, man. There was no indication that this was his first competition pass. And I just think it rolled downhill from there. He qualified second and then went all the way to the finals and lost by a 1 inch margin of victory to Madison Payne, who got her first victory as well. Another cool story. Top alcohol dragster. And then you got Lyle getting his license the next day. Has top alcohol dragster ever had more time in the spotlight than it did this weekend?
Right.
I think that was my number one takeaway. And I understand that there were some people that I think were conflicted, like, oh, yeah, of course, sportsman racing is getting all this shine now that Tony Stewart's here. But man, we have to take this for what it is. This is a high water moment for everybody in drag racing, but specifically, as you mentioned, Mike, the folks that operate in top alcohol dragster, we've been saying for 100 years that this is a really fantastic feeder system for our professional ranks, for Funny Car and Top Fuel, and to see it really flexing that and demonstrating the farm league kind of nature of those categories, for me, is a huge victory for the sport. It's great for everybody else involved. I mean, think about Chris Demke, Madison Payne. I mean, she won her first race with NASCAR Hall of Famer Tony Stewart in the opposing lane. I mean, that's incredible.
Awesome.
She's a third generation racer,
man. Pulling up,
I can't
and
imagine.
In the finals to get your first win, you got to race Tony Stewart. I mean,
what a cool story!
She probably never dreamed that would happen.
What a cool story she'll have for like forever,
Well, and there's a lot of history in that family, right? I mean, this is a third generation drag racer, right? Following in the footsteps of her parents and her grandparent, her grandfather, and to see her in that moment and excel. And I actually think that it extends the storyline a little bit, because as cool as it would have been if he would have won the first time out, I think this adds some lifespan to it, and it's going to make it last a little bit longer to, see what happens next with Tony, when we're going to see him back behind the wheel. Does this escalate to Top Fuel immediately? Because to your point, Mike, he did look pretty damn comfortable, but it was fun to see him climb out of the car after that first run and talk about the butterflies, talk about the nerves with Amanda Busick and all the distractions up in the staging lane and all the pressure, because
there was more media in the staging lanes following him than there were, for the fuel cars usually. So
you'd have thought Drake was there. I mean,
he's a needle mover though, and that's what you're going to get. We saw him move the needle when he came into the sport, but his fan base is so massive, and now you've got him actually driving and competing. And I think they're going to pay more attention. And if the hook is set, when he is on the set at a NASCAR event or something, and he drops some knowledge about drag racing or talks about his time over in drag racing, I think it's just going to, it's going to have more people cross over into this space.
Have you heard all the quotes and the little one-liners that he's offered up? I mean, the dude is a walking soundbite machine. It's incredible. And I mean, he talks about things, drag racing being its own island, and this, where a driver still has their own destiny or has control of their own destiny. He says so many things, and like I don't say it jokingly, but I obviously say it lightheartedly every Wednesday when I get on here and talk about spreading the gospel of drag racing. But that guy, having him endorse what we do is so important. It's so valid to have him. Absolutely. So validating, so valuable to have someone as accomplished as Tony Stewart out here telling people how hard drag racing is, how uniquely difficult it is, the uniquely pressure filled. Those are all things that absolutely chip away at people who are kind of fence straddling fans, or maybe have a passing interest in what we do, or maybe they're motorsports fans kind of in general. They watch NASCAR, they watch some Formula One or IndyCar, whatever. Having him perpetually validate what we do and bring his attention here and bring that enthusiasm, I don't know that we'll ever be able to pay Tony Stewart back as a sport for what he's doing for us right now. And if you I don't want to go too far back, but if you really think about everything that's happened this year specifically, 2022 has been a great year for drag racing. I mean, coming off what has been a rough go of it for everybody on the planet Earth for the most part. I mean, to have the kind of year that we've had Tony Stewart showing up, Travis Pastrana, just a month ago, we were celebrating Travis Pastrana kind of doing this same song and dance. Now we got Tony Stewart out here as a real deal competitor going to the final round. This is a really, really, really big deal for the sport of drag racing.
Yeah, and Fuel Junkie Racing has got a good comment in here saying, fingers crossed NHRA won't put the same taste in Tony's mouth as NASCAR has of late. I thought that's been interesting as well. He's not hesitating to throw some shade over at NASCAR. And I think that that's helped push him over here to drag racing. And, you know, it doesn't have to come at the detriment of NASCAR, but I think that that's interesting. And that is the challenge that NHRA has to sort of maintain this and continue to build it. And we'll definitely see where it goes.
Don't you think that it's also like on him or on NHRA to foster that environment and that he's having fun? It seems like the access, I saw someone else in the comments mention about the fan access that's available at NHRA rivaling anything else that really involve, you know, in professional sports. I think that his being over here in our sandbox, the drag racing sandbox, and him being so excited about it, some of these other folks that are getting out of NASCAR or feeling like it's headed the wrong direction or tired of the expense. I mean, we've been saying a long time about the bang for your buck that you can get in pro level drag racing compared to these other motorsports is unrivaled.
And for
so
sponsors,
I wonder if some of these
hospitality,
folks,
the access that they get compared to what they get for the same or, you know, way more over at NASCAR or anywhere else.
I mean, do you want to be a sticker on a corner panel at a NASCAR race, you know, or a decal on a roll bar, you know, somewhere, or do you want to have a whole team? Because that's absolutely what you could do for those, you know, for exchangeable dollars. So it's a very exciting thing. Kind of continuing along with the NHRA Las Vegas national event. Hey, I hated to be there. SEMA going on this week. Hated not to be there. I haven't been home.
This is the first time in a long time, right?
I haven't missed this race in probably 10 years. And, you know, just to be 100% forthcoming, I haven't been home for my kids on Halloween ever. Not once. And when they were younger, it didn't bother me as much, you know what I mean? Because it was like one picture of them dressed as a puppy or something, and that was it. But now, like specifically my little girl, Sophia, lives for Halloween. I mean, I don't know if we're doing something right or doing something wrong, but it is like her far away favorite. It must just be the candy. But she loves Halloween. And whenever I even kind of in passing mentioned that I wasn't going to be home on Halloween, it was a problem. And I thought, you know what? Drag racing, you know, knock on wood, is going to be around for a long time, but my little girl is only going to be 8 and want me to go trick-or-treating with her for a short amount of time. So I stayed home. Sure. But, you know, huge shout out to everybody out at SEMA, walking the SEMA show floor to see these trade shows back in action. Across the board, I'm hearing everybody talk about attendance being up, exhibitors being up. So to come, it wasn't that long ago that we were having conversations like right here on this very show about, will we ever see trade shows be what they were? Well, clearly we can't break that tradition.
And was it last year that we talked, because SEMA was down maybe a little bit last year, but then PRI was bonkers, right? So
1,000,000%.
Yeah. So
let's continue along the NHRA line. There's a lot of stuff, and we're getting some funny comments here, so I want to reply to a couple of these things. But let's just continue along the lines of the NHRA Nevada Nationals. I can't help but want to talk about Erica Enders. We're obviously big fans of hers here on this show and what she represents in our sport. But a 5th world championship, to do it in the fashion that they did in 2022, what are we, 10 wins? At this point, 10 wins. She sets low ET of the race. She qualifies number 1, wins the race, sets top speed of the meet. You can't go out. I mean, what an incredible performance. And it was funny because she obviously won the championship, but I kind of feel like we're seeing the entire pro stock ranks just waving the white flag. Like, all right.
And that was a big order.
You're better than us.
I don't care who you are, you know, to try to stop her because she's dominant there. You know,
that's
you're rolling into Vegas.
You're going,
track. Boy, what can we do to stop Erica here? Well, there's not much.
I think with that win, she becomes the winningest pro driver in any category at that track.
Yes, I believe so. And to have that kind of dominance there, I mean, they're going to Pomona with no pressure. I think the question, and I saw some of this on social, but you've got to throw Erica in the conversation as the best to ever do this. I mean, especially if you're talking about pro stock and you're not including her in the best ever conversation. I saw a comment on social earlier that was like, greatest of all time. These things get thrown around a lot. It's like when you start telling girls you love them when you're 15 years old, right? I mean, it gets thrown around pretty loosely, you know? But it's like, she is. I mean, and I don't think you can take... I don't know that
if you're denying that, you're just a hater, or blind or something, because she's definitely on the Mount Rushmore of pro stock.
No, I mean, and I know that there's the Bob Glidden fans are being referenced in the comments right now, and the Warren Johnson fans, and I mean, there's a lot of them. Like, there's a long list of people who have done incredible things in pro stock. But in this day and age, in this modern era, she is undoubtedly the best to do it, right? And I think I would throw her hat in the ring against any of those guys, no matter how successful they were back then. I make this point a lot, but it's valid. There weren't that many competitive cars back then.
That's what I was
in the glory days of pro stock, it was
around all sports. The competition has gotten better, right?
Across the board.
Yep.
And I mean, Bob Glidden, Warren Johnson, those guys had the fields covered. Erica's going into these races where 9 times out of 10, she's got to be the difference maker. She's got to leave first. She's got to do a killer job driving. And to see her achieve this level, I mean, she's, in my opinion, most assuredly going to catch and surpass Angelle Sampey for the winningest female in drive. One race away. One race? I think, 45, okay. And I think she's at 44. So she will tie if she were to win in Pomona, which they clearly are intending to do. But do you guys get exhausted with the argument about like how hands-on those guys were?
And I get they built it. Yeah, that's great. And they worked on their stuff. But I don't know, maybe we're a little bit past that now. We do have crews out here working on things now, which has made the competition that much better, and everybody's faster, and you have to be one hell of a driver. Now that driver, maybe that person needs to concentrate more on the driving part because it's needed to win.
Yeah, you can't put that genie back in the bottle with the cost and the expenses and what these teams are paying to do this. They're not. You have to have the full-time crew. You can't put the genie back in the bottle and just throw 2 guys out there. One drives the rig and sets everything up. The other one drives the race car and is the crew guy and crew chief. I mean, that's the way it used to be, and that's the way it is at a lot of drag racing every weekend. But
you're not going to be competitive doing that. Doing that this day and age. So
absolutely.
So
not.
It's apples to oranges, whatever you want to call it.
And we also
potato.
We got to give a shout out to our boy Chase Freeman. Got down on one knee and proposed to his girlfriend in the winner's circle in front of the car. He was waiting for that moment. The good thing is they win so much that he had a lot of opportunities, to get that done.
You don't have to wonder.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, it's funny to see them react. And this is going to be a fun storyline to watch unfold, I think, over the course of like the next 6 months, is I think that oftentimes we see things where there's that championship hangover. Right. I mean, we're seeing it in the NFL right now for sure. And you see that in a lot of different sports. And we saw how Elite Motorsports, that whole camp, I mean, from top to bottom, left to right, reacted to losing the championship last year. And we've seen it unfold. I mean, we've seen them go out every weekend looking to stomp on the competition, and they have done so. So what does 2023 look like for that team? How do you what will the motivation be? Is it, that drive for 5? Hell, it rhymed. It's like everything lined up. But what happens, I'm very much anxious to see what the next chapter of the Erica Enders story looks like, because we saw her personality kind of shift in 2022. I thought we saw a little bit more of a hard-edged Erica, less happy-go-lucky, obviously very grateful and appreciative of the situation she's in, but also with something of a chip on her shoulder, a point to prove. And I wonder if you're able to, is a driver, is a competitor, is an athlete able to maintain that? I mean, wasn't that why Michael Jordan was so special, that he was able to find anything that would motivate him, to get him up? I think we saw that whole team get up for 2022 I heard her say a quote about how they had to have a number 2 on their car all year long, right? And
it reminded them every week, right? Yeah.
It reminded them every time they looked at it that they lost. So what will be that motivation in 2023? Do you guys feel that will be anything that they have to contend with?
Probably not with that camp. I mean, they take this shit pretty serious,
Yeah.
So, and
I think the motivation will be just to surpass and extend her lead on most female victories of all time, and just the overall most victories in pro stock and the overall number of championships, and just continue on. If we see her for another 5 years or something, I think that's going to be the main motivation, and just to never get back in that position where they're number 2. We'll see how it goes, man. But lots of across all classes, there was some great racing in Vegas. How about let's go to Pro Stock
Top
Motorcycle?
Fuel. Or no, yeah, we can go to Pro Stock.
Let's stay in Pro Stock. Matt Smith went to the finals against Hector Arana Jr., who got another win. I believe that's 2 in a row.
Back to back, big dog.
Back to back.
I mean, what's that say about motorcycle racing? You can dive in like that, go straight. I mean, that was really, really impressive. They clearly have a strong program. But yeah, Matt Smith heads into the NHRA finals in Pomona with a significant lead, right?
Yep. He, you know, if you saw the video that Angie posted
Dude,
yesterday
that is hilarious,
with
man.
Amanda Music, he's in the drive for 5, and now he's on the mix for 6.
Yeah, we should have grabbed that to play it on here because
that was really good. Good job, Amanda, Matt, Angie, and everybody involved in that.
Yeah, that was great.
Really, really, really good, man. I love to see this, people kind of stepping out of their comfort zone with some of this content, because that's a new thing, right? To see these little independent production and these videos going out.
Amanda's got some acting chops.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
She has a lot of experience. I don't think we give Amanda Busick the credit she deserves. She's a great ambassador for the sport of drag racing. We need, I would actually like to see her a little bit more married to that.
She's all over the place, man.
She is all over the
I don't know
place,
when she sleeps.
I don't either, man. It's very, very interesting. Let's talk Top Fuel. I mean, I think that a lot of people following Justin Ashley's win in Dallas, Texas at the NHRA Fall Nationals were kind of, concluding that chapter, calling the Top Fuel Championship somewhat decided. I know a lot of people felt like the door had been closed on Steve Torrance, and there were other people that were kind of falling out of contention. Here comes Brittany Force like a freight train rolling down the strip in Las Vegas. Again, sets number one qualifier, wins the race, low ET, top speed, absolute domination. Her, David Grubnick, Max Savage, that whole John Force Racing team looking like world beaters headed into the finals. Do you think that this is, are they hot at the exact right time? Did they stay close and here they are going to go out with a bang?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Confidence now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
They got it back, man. It just right in time too. We saw that in Funny Car as well with Matt Hagan. We're going to talk about that, but had to put on a performance like this to get back up there in points and regain their confidence. And going into Pomona, I don't know what her career stats are at Pomona, or what like Grubby's stats are as far as tuning at Pomona, but I would imagine, given the typical conditions that are there this time of year, that's Grubby's going to let her eat.
I've an IT guy, right?
Yeah, he's a good IT guy too. Yeah, if you need Wi-Fi help, he's got
a little inside joke for when we filmed an episode at John Force Racing. Turns out David Grubnick, while primarily his role is to be crew chief for Brittany Force's Top Fuel Dragster, he is also the in-house IT guy. So when we were having some Wi-Fi connectivity issues, they tell us that they're going to send Grubby up. And I'm thinking, is this the same Grubby? Like the crew chief Grubby? Because I don't know that I want this guy helping me with the Wi-Fi.
IT guy. We'll send the IT guy up. And so then he comes walking in, and JT was like, "Oh, here's the IT guy," and I'm like, "That's Dave Grubnick. That's the crew chief for Brittany."
Yeah, it's saturated.
It's saturated. Yeah,
our bandwidth is completely saturated.
They've been in this situation before. Not they as a group, but Brittany Force as a driver has been at the last race of the season with an opportunity to earn a world championship, and I don't think she's going to cower in this moment whatsoever. I think she's got a ton of confidence. We've seen her really come out of her shell in 2022 as well. She's another driver that we're starting to see more of her personality. Her winning on a hole shot and being able to be a difference maker on the starting line, I think it's going to give her confidence headed into this last race of the season. And that first round matchup between Clay Milliken and Justin Ashley just goes to show you how brutal our sport can be. I mean, you go from the highest of highs, leading the points, winning a race in back-to-back seasons, winning the Texas Fall Nationals year after year, right? Everything is lining up. And then you go out in the first round to a hard-charging, kind of reinvigorated Clay Milliken, who you can never sleep on. But I mean, he's talked about it all year long, how he's lost, however many first-round matches by a few thousandths of a second. Man, he won one. I mean, that's a first round. This is one of the first years that I think pretty much it's a toss-up in round one, right? I mean, you just don't know. There's some clear favorites for sure, but we've seen all these guys go out early. Steve Torrance has gone out early on multiple occasions this year. Brittany Force, multiple first-round losses. So to see Justin on the wrong end of that was tough, but I do think if Justin Ashley has demonstrated anything, he does have some steely resolve. You know, I mean, it doesn't seem like he gets too high. Like at times we get frustrated, like Justin, scream or yell or be excited. But I think, to be honest, this is when that even keel nature of his is probably going to pay dividends, because he's not going to go into Pomona singing the blues down in the dumps. He's going to go there poised. I don't think he's going to be overly excited. He's not out there with a point to prove, but he's going to go out there and do his job, which has, by all accounts, he's been the best at throughout all of 2022. We've heard Antron Brown say it. We've heard Steve Torrance say it. Multiple drivers have identified Justin Ashley as the best in the business right now. So I think he's going to go out there and try to take care of business, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to derail that freight train that is Brittany Force and Company.
Agreed. Now let's talk about funny car. How about Matt Hagan in the must-win situation?
Man, massively impressive. We heard him say earlier in the week, this is a do or die moment for us. We either win this deal or we settle for not winning a championship in 2022. And they're again hot at the right time, man. Matt Hagan, Dickie Venables, the confidence that he has in that team. I mean, how about Tony Stewart Racing contending for a championship in year one of existence? I mean, I think it says a lot about the operation, the way they handle themselves, the way they do things, the accountability that exists there. Matt has done a fantastic job all year long as a driver. And when the car and the driver meet in moments like this, they're going to be a real problem. And I think
it could be scary for next year, you know, because now they've had a year to figure it out. You know,
does this change?
I think that's what's probably scariest of all.
Does this change your last week? I think we all agreed Robert Hight was the champion, was what we were foreseeing. Ron Capps is now 61 points back, and Matt is only 63 points back. He's only 2 points back of Ron. So 3-car race, really. John Force is actually fourth, but he's 186 back. So does that change your thinking on those three?
As much as I want, first and foremost, I'm going to quote Andy Reid. You got to love the competition, right? Like, you got to love the competition. I mean,
we don't need more Chiefs stuff going on.
No, we need more Chiefs stuff. But, I mean, don't you agree? Like, just to see this level of competition, Robert Hight, Ron Capps, Matt Hagan, John Force, Bob Tasca. I mean, earlier this summer, Bob Tasca looked like he was going to be unstoppable, that they had come across something, they had developed something with their combination, they'd gotten into a rhythm, established some momentum, and they're almost completely out of the discussion at this point. It's the competition. You have to love it. And, man, it goes without saying that I'd like to see all these guys win the championship. I think there's some great storylines. I love to see the notion of Matt Hagan winning a world championship. I think he's a great ambassador for our sport. He's a big personality. I said last year that I thought we saw him kind of having his star moment. He was getting a little louder, a little prouder, a little more outspoken, and it was great to see him go toe-to-toe with John Force on a couple occasions and have some back and forth with different drivers. So I think it would be fantastic to see him in year one with Tony Stewart Racing win a championship. But I mean, there's another storyline with Ron Capps. First year as a driver owner, been fantastic to see them maintain the level of success that we've kind of, come to expect from these folks. But also, Robert Hight, man, I think the way he came out and said, I want to win 60 races. I want to win my 60th race this season. But I know in my heart that it's going to take winning 61, 62, 63 to get a championship. I think him acknowledging the challenge that it's going to be, I think he's poised to be the difference maker in this moment. We've seen him doing a fantastic job on the starting line, sneaking in there and winning one on a whole shot when he needs to. I would not at all be surprised to stand by my pick and see Robert Hight and that John Force Racing team do what they do best in Southern California.
Still kind of his to lose at this point, but yes,
I agree.
It would be really cool to. I mean, it'd be good if he won it. It'd be great. The storylines, like you said, if the other two somehow was able to pull it off and come from behind. I mean, that's the underdog story is always a good story, right?
Do you guys, I mean, if we have to pick right now, I mean, do you anticipate Robert being able to hold him off?
We'll see, man. I have to look at the stats. I always want to go back to see who's run well at Pomona in years past. I'm sure that they have. That's a sponsors race. We talked about that last week. So yeah, it's still my pick, but man, the momentum that Hagan and crew have coming off that win, that will be interesting to see as well. And you can't count out Ron Capps as well. I actually think that's the most interesting
I think Capps
of all the three or of all the four pro categories as far as the championship hunt going into Pomona.
I like this comment we got here from Spencer Hyde.
He came in with something to prove this year too. So
no doubt.
I like his focus going into this.
If you look at some of these, and we'll do this briefly because we got some ground to cover here, but like if you look at the reaction times that we're seeing in the final round of Nitro races, it's never happened. Never. I mean, the final round in Funny Car was 049 Matt Hagan, 054 Robert Height. I mean, that not that long ago, that would have been considered guessing. I mean, you would have heard someone say, oh, he just did a bad job red lighting, right? But I mean, we're seeing these guys consistently. Brittany, I believe, was 034 perhaps in the final. Let me look. Brittany Force was 034. Mike Salinas was 066. Holy moly. I mean, the level of competition just amongst the drivers and the reaction times alone is unlike anything we've ever seen before. So Pomona is going to be an absolute barn burner. I think that there it is. Take a shot. But it's great to see the countdown to the championship really do exactly what it's supposed to do and provide excitement throughout the entire end of the season, make the last race of the year exciting. And I think we're going to be waiting with bated breath on what happens in Pomona. I mean, every round is going to be critical. Lane choice going to be critical. Oh, we're going to see some history made in Southern California, guys.
Speaking of bated breath, man, we've covered a lot of different types of racing here all across the sport. 2022 has been an awesome year for racing. We talked about that. But what's your take? What do you think is missing from the drag racing landscape for 2023?
Are you talking to me specifically?
I'm talking to you. I'm asking you.
Uh-oh, now he's putting me on the hot seat. All right. Well, it's funny you say that, Mike. And I want to say first and foremost that I appreciate the crowd that is gathered here on the World Wide Web, and we appreciate the support each and every week here on the Wes Buck Show and the support we've received via Drag Illustrated for the last 17 years. We've been in publication since October of 2005. I couldn't be more proud of what we've achieved here, what we've been able to do for the sport of drag racing, what we've been able to do with all of you, because we can't do it without the men and women that spend their weekends and their nights out at the drag strip. But I got to tell you guys, we do feel like there's work left to be done. Whenever we started this project way back when in October of 2005, the goal was always to create a promotional platform and create a media outlet that would put us in a position at some point in the future to do events of our own. We have dived into that on a few different instances over the course of the year, over the course of time, most notably with our friends at Bandimere Speedway in 2017. It was actually February of 2017 that we announced our first ever Drag Illustrated production at Bandimere Speedway. We ran that event for 3 years. We followed that up with a trip to Orlando, Florida for back-to-back seasons with the World Doorslammer Nationals. And hell, I'm like getting heart palpitations.
I can tell.
Breathe, buddy. Breathe.
Yeah, man. Okay. We're very excited to dive back into the event promotion, event operation business at a place that's become very special to us, with a guy that's become very special to us. So without any further ado, 3 days that will live forever in infamy. March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2023, the Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod returns. We will be moving to Florida and joining Vic Alvarez and the gang at Bradenton Motorsports Park for what will undoubtedly be the biggest independent drag race on the planet Earth. 100,000 to win, winner take all, Pro Mod shootout. This event is invite only. We will invite 40 teams to participate in this historic event. We've already had a multitude of drivers accept invitations. I can't wait to share this information with you guys. A huge deal for us here at Drag Illustrated, to be honest, because in going to what Mike's original question was, what is the sport of drag racing missing right now? In my opinion, I feel deep in my soul that we are missing as a sport a circle the date on the calendar, and an event that everybody looks forward to, that kind of crosses all boundaries, involves people from every walk of the racing life, whether you're a No Prep Kings fan, whether you're an NHRA fan, whether you're a sportsman drag racing fan, whether you're a radial tire, small tire, 10.5 tire fan. There needs to be an event. One of the biggest issues that I have is all my favorite drivers operate on their own little islands, kind of much to Tony Stewart's point earlier in the show. Everybody kind of exists in their own neighborhood, and we feel that it is high time that we bring all those men and women, the stars, the best, the brightest, the baddest, the biggest personalities from all these different communities bring them together and let them do battle for $100,000 March 3rd, 4th, and 5th. 2023 at Bradenton Motorsports Park. This is going to be the definition of a barn burner. We're getting the band back together. We have a ton of announcements coming up in the coming weeks, streaming partners, title rights sponsors, presenting sponsors, et cetera, all the things that will be going along with the event, our supporting classes, of course, the drivers that are going to be announced. But and the big news and kind of the big departure for us, something different, is we're going to run this bad boy Outlaw 8th Mile. So this is a huge change of pace for us. As big of fans as we are of quarter mile drag racing, we recognize the safety implications of switching to 8th Mile, and most notably the volume, the inventory of cars. As many of you guys know, hardcores, right? Hardcore fans, hardcore racers, and participants that have been involved with this sport for a long time. As these cars have gotten faster and faster and faster, we're now headed towards 260 in the quarter mile. What we really want to do is create a place where we can bring all these different combinations together. Nitrous cars, turbo cars, blower cars, roots blown cars, screw blown cars, pro charge cars, going to 8th Mile drag, going together, doing battle against one another. So massive deal. If anybody has any questions, anything, pile them in the comments. We'll be happy to answer them. But we got a couple of special guests here, but I want to bring this first one on. And kind of get into this, guys. I mean, we got some serious stuff to discuss here.
I feel like we need a round of applause on that.
Oh no, I'm excited.
Hey, he was like nervous, wasn't he?
Oh, dude, I'm just so.
It's exciting, dude. This is. We've been waiting to announce this for a long time, and been working on the details. Finally got it all hammered out, and man, this is gonna be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. Press release just went out. Shout out Nate Van Wagenen. So this is hitting the pages now. Check out dragillustrated.com for all the details.
It's I truly think the sport needs this. We need big independent events, and we as a company, it's important for us to be complementary, right? What we really want to do is be complementary to the NHRA series. We don't have any desires or aspirations here to compete with all of our friends, right? And all of our partners in the industry. So we want this to be something that complements the NHRA Pro Mod Drag Racing Series, something that complements the Professional Drag Racing Series, complements NMCA, Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Association, complements the Midwest Drag Racing Series. There's so many. Pro Mod's unique in that way. I've said for years and years and years, it's the universal language of drag racing. It is a brand of drag racing that is successful around the globe, not just here in America, not just here in North America, but throughout the Middle East, Australia, Europe. This is a brand of drag racing that has a worldwide footprint, and there has to be a King of the Hill event where we get to find out who's who on a level playing field, and we're going to do that March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2023 at Bradenton Motorsports Park.
It's going to be a King of the Hill situation, man. Wait till you see this invite list and the cars and drivers that are going to be there.
Guys, let's go ahead and bring on a special guest of the hour who's actually out of pocket. He's on a racecation, he calls it, at the World Cup Finals import versus domestic shootout going on up at Maryland International Raceway. Jason Miller's big production. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for our partner in crime on the fast approaching World Series of Pro Mod, the one and only Victor Alvarez.
What's up, Vic?
What's up,
Victor?
What's up, man? We're clapping today about everything.
I was watching and listening, and as Wes started talking about the race, I got so pumped. I'm going crazy.
Well, first and foremost, Vic, thank you. You and I have been flirting with this conversation for quite a while now. We knew that there would be at some point that the opportunity would present itself for us to join forces on an event. And I got to just give you kudos, man. A young man, you're a part of our Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30 alumni. You are doing big things in the sport, and what you've done down at Bradenton Motorsports Park has really resonated with me. This is a sport. I mean, to see someone invest at the level that you have. I mean, I think a lot of times people see young people in our sport and go, "Oh, that guy's here to make some money and get out or whatever." To see you pour all that concrete, man, to see those aluminum grandstands, to see all the effort that you've put in bringing Bradenton Motorsports Park, into the conversation as a premier drag racing facility, a premier drag racing venue. It's been exhilarating. It's a breath of fresh air to see someone willing to put their neck on the line and invest with the promise of the future being their only, the hopeful promise, right? Hoping that things turn out well. So anyways, man, kudos to you for all you've done, all you're doing. And I'm excited about this. Can you kind of go through some of those upgrades that you've made to the facility? Because you and I have talked about this in the past, that Bradenton has the perfect mix of Saturday night drag strip and national event size facility.
Yeah, we're like caught right in between. So, when I started doing events at Bradenton, I was really excited to do an event in general, but I was always worried, like, hey man, one day, I hope this event grows and grows and grows, and maybe one day I might outgrow this place. And I kind of got scared because I was like, man, I love this track. If you've been to Bradenton, it kind of just has its own vibe to it, and it's an amazing place. Like, I mean, there's a lot of history there, a lot of just a cool place. Obviously my opinion now is biased, but I've always preferred to race there than anywhere else. So I knew that for me to invest in the future and for me to do this long term, that I was going to have to make big improvements to that place when I got it. And that was just always my goal, was to just do well enough to blow this place up. And we redid the track, concrete to almost 1,000-foot mark, and we redid all the grandstands. We've repaved almost the entire place at this point. We've added more paved parking. We've done so much stuff since I've been there, and I think it's coming up on 5 years. And I mean, because we want to do events like this, we want to do the big Snowbirds race, and we want to make the Snowbirds bigger. Like, nothing is, I think you've talked about it on the show, and me and you have talked about it off air. Like, I think a lot of people kind of limit themselves when it comes to drag racing. They don't believe that the sport can be as big as it really is. And to me, I'm like, I want this place to just be, I want to continue to grow. I want it to continue every time we open the gate and do a big event, that it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and we need more bleachers, and we need more staff, and we need more and more and more, because it also trickles down the line. Like, our sponsors see a difference right before one of our big races. More transmissions are sold, more engines are sold, more engine management systems are sold. Like, it trickles all the way down the line. And me also being a part owner of a shop, I see both sides of it, and I love this sport. I've done well enough in this industry that I could just ignore the fact that I need more grandstands, or the fact that we need to, whatever improvements we need new scales, like all of those things. I could absolutely just ignore it. A lot of people would, but I'm 32. I'm here for the long haul. I want to talk about doing like the 20th annual World Series of Pro Mod race. That's how long I want to be.
Same, man. And it makes me, I get goosebumps hearing you say that, because I feel the same way. And we kind of, the last few days here at Drag Illustrated, all of us have been having all these like kind of pocketed conversations, like, hey man, are we prepared for that? Are we ready to do this? Do we want to do this? And what I said actually to my wife today is, it's like, this is on my heart. I know that, as silly as that sounds, I know that there's more for the sport of drag racing. And I'm not taking shots at anybody, but I look at the impact that Travis Pastrana, Tony Stewart have had, and the way, this sport's on the rise. There is opportunity. Every time I go to the racetrack, I feel like I'm walking on fertile soil. And for as far as this sport has come, for all that has happened in the last 70 years or whatever of organized drag racing, I feel there's still so much more for us. And I really believe in my heart that Pro Modified is the vehicle. I think No Prep Kings has proven without a shadow of a doubt that you don't have to have nitromethane to sell tickets. You don't have to have, funny cars or top fuel cars or jet cars necessarily, right? You have to have a great storyline, and you have to have a great cast of characters. One of the questions I get most frequently is whenever it comes to these events, and I remember when we announced the 2017 World Series of Pro Mod, my phone melted down with people saying, why invite only? Why not let everybody? Hell, you and I had that conversation, right? But we have to control the...
Really?
Yeah, it's, for me, you have to control the cast of characters. And I don't know that I've had some people hit me up and ask, hey, what's it take to get invited? Man, I'm going to say that it's an intangible, and it really is an intangible thing. It's not about how many races you've won. It's not how many finals you've been to. It's not about how many championships you've had. We certainly want record breakers and championship level contenders involved in this. But really, it's about being needle movers, being people that share our vision for the sport of drag racing, because there are people here that are happy as a clam and they're happy doing what they're doing and they're happy operating where they're at. But we need people that share our vision and want more and understand that it's going to take to get more. We're going to have to do more. We're going to have to pay more money. We're going to have to do more media. We're going to have to do more PR. We're going to have to run more television commercials, run more social ads. We're going to have to invest. And I want people that share that vision and share that belief set, because that's going to really be what makes the difference, right?
Well, and I think that, and this isn't a shot at anyone, and I hesitate to say it, but I think that there's a group of, not a single group, but there's, in any group of racers, there's a couple guys that they show up to the racetrack and they feel like they're there to, like they're entitled to something, they're going to win. And this isn't like a single class or anything, but, and then I also feel like there are guys that they understand the responsibility that we have, not just me and just you, but Drag Illustrated, Bradenton Motorsports Park, the racers, to grow this sport. Like I feel like we're leaving so much on the table. Like, as you mentioned earlier, look at No Prep Kings. In such a short amount of time, No Prep Kings has absolutely blown up. There's no reason that we can't have pro mod races that are that big, which we do, but like, we need to continue to grow this sport. We need to continue to put this in front of as many people as possible so that it stays around and so that tracks don't get closed and tracks don't disappear. And, you know, more companies come up with new products, and we keep just pushing every aspect of drag racing and motorsports in a whole. Like, I want the ECU companies to have a reason to keep pushing the envelope and keep coming out with stuff. And transmission companies and engine companies and nitrous and turbos and pro chargers. And like, it's a responsibility. Like, I don't wake up every day and say, wow, I'm going to go and try to make a bunch of money. Absolutely not. Like, obviously we do this to make a living, but at the same time, like, I could make a lot more money if I did not care about my responsibility to the sport. And I feel, you know, the younger guys, like, there are a lot of us that we're the future of this industry. You know, like me, you, Tyler Crossnow, there's a bunch of guys that in 10 or 20 years, the landscape is going to change, and we're going to be the guys that, you know, are pushing this forward. And it's a huge responsibility. And I thank, you know, the racers and the spectators and the sponsors for all the support that we get, and the fact that we're able to do these things and able to do these huge payouts and all of that. But like, it's a huge responsibility. And I think that the success of this event is going to be built on the fact that as a whole, BMP and Drag Illustrated feel that responsibility and know that we have to take this and just run with it.
I couldn't agree more. What I'm looking for when I think about the 2023 World Series of Pro Mod Vic is I'm looking from a fan perspective, a true destination drag race. You come down to Bradenton, spend a week on the beach or hanging out in a condo or whatever, a racecation, right? Or stay the week after. You know, we've done a lot of cool things. We have some killer sponsorship stuff to announce in the next couple of days. But really, for me, I got to say, as much as I do feel that responsibility you're talking about, and I want to talk specifically to every drag racer, specifically our pro mod brethren that we're building this event for, but the entire sport, you men and women deserve it. I truly believe in my heart that you guys deserve to be treated like celebrities. You deserve to be treated like rock stars. You deserve to have first-class treatment across the board. And that's what we're striving for. I want pro-modified racers to feel like they have won the lottery simply by accepting an invitation to the World Series of Pro Mod, because they know they're going to get treated like royalty. They know they're going to get parked up front. They know they're not going to be on the back nine somewhere. They know they're going to race for $100,000 under the grandest stage and the brightest lights possible.
And the people that don't get invited, we want them to feel like, I want to do whatever it takes to be considered for an invite next year. Like, this isn't, we're not purposely like, oh, we're not going to invite this guy, we're not going to invite that guy. We're trying to just build something that is huge and that everyone will enjoy and that will build drag racing as a whole. You know, like, to put $100,000 for a race for one class is huge. And we're not doing it because, like, just because. We're doing it because, A, like you mentioned, they deserve it. And B, we want to just do big things. Like, we want this to just continue to grow and to just go nuts. And so, yeah, that being said, we want, if you don't get an invite this year, we want you to just keep being great and keep pushing and get your name out there and promote drag racing as a whole, promote your brand as much as possible. And, you know, like, the opportunity will exist in the future.
And I think I can speak for both of us when I say that we're just getting started. This is year one. I looked Vic straight in the eyes and I said, we can't do it for any less than 100,000. It's got to be 100,000. And I understand that isn't maybe possible every weekend for a lot of these sanctions and series. But it has to be possible every once in a while. And I got to tell you guys, it's so important. Those zeros on the flyer translate to excitement, enthusiasm, attention from mainstream media. I mean, it is such a difference maker. So for us, $100,000 prize is the beginning of where we want this to lead. We're looking forward to this event in a big way. We got, for me, and I think you're as much of a fan of this stuff as I am, Vic. You told me that you kind of got your first taste of Pro Mod, seven years ago, 2015. Yep. I go a little further back. I think I saw pro modified drag racing for the first time in 1993 at a shootout at Eddyville Raceway Park that Mike's dad was at. And the world's fastest 55, Charles Carpenter, the man, the myth, the legend. And I remember being exposed to those cars for the first time, and the blower sticking through the hood and the nitrous purges and just the personality of the cars and the pomp and circumstance. Chuck Peterson with the big 2 side-by-side tractor trailers. This is in the early 90s, and he's got 2 tractor trailers with full-blown, everybody's in crew shirts and uniforms. And I should have known then, but I was like 10. This is where it's at. This is the next big thing. This is fuel racing in its infancy. And I honestly think that when I look at something that has long-term sustainability, it's doorslammer drag racing. This is something that we can build for years and years and years. There's no end in sight. While it's certainly not a cheap thing or something that's readily affordable to anybody on the planet, it is something that is still possible, right? The Pro Mod dream is alive and well. And I just think that we have to plant our flag with this particular brand of drag racing and drive people to it. I mean, this is going to be, and what I was going to finish that up with as far as the fan perspective goes, I mean, I don't want to turn this into like an exercise, but I mean, close your eyes and imagine a world where the stars of radial racing, the stars of the PDRA, the stars of the NMCA, the stars of the Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Association, the stars of the NHRA, various categories all converge in one place to do battle for the first time ever. We're March 3rd, 4th, and 5th. You're going to see guys line up that have never before raced each other. In no other walk of the racing life would they face one another, but at the World Series of Pro Mod, they will. And I am so excited because as many categories as there are, and I understand why they exist, Vic, I always have felt like that's been one of our sport's biggest problems, is that the stars are spread amongst 70 different categories. I mean, Top Fuel and Funny Car is a prime example. I mean, I think I could make a pretty solid argument for shit can in one of those classes, right? Because it would be cool to have Ron Capps racing Brittany Force. And it would be cool to have Brittany Force racing Alexis DeJoria. It would be cool to have all your stars. That's what NASCAR has had on us. I think that's the magic of No Prep Kings right now, is all the stars are in the same class. They're not spread amongst 5 or 6 different categories. They're all in one pool. And that's what I want to create with you with the World Series of Pro Mod.
Well, and I also think that, like, if you look at a guy like Stevie Fast Jackson, 10 years ago, he was no time racing, a Fox body. And that guy is, a threat and like a force to be reckoned with in Pro Mod now. And I feel like there's also like a disconnect that people don't understand, that like it is attainable. The same guy who runs X275 may be running Pro Mod in a couple of years, And I think that spark that I got the first time I stood on the starting line watching Pro Mods race at BMP, and, that really kind of, I don't even know what it did to me, but it honestly changed my entire on the Snowbird Outlaw Nationals, which has kind of made it my favorite event and made it my baby, and that's why I've done the things I've done with it. But when I was watching those Pro Mod cars for the very first time, I want others to feel that. And my personal goal for this event is I want the people that are like me, that are diehard drag racing fans, that have never seen Stevie Fast or Chris Thorne or just any of these guys race. I want them to see it, because I know that once they see it, they're going to be mind blown and they're going to be hooked. And that is how we build the sport. Like there's going to be thousands and thousands of people here at World Cup Finals this weekend that have never been to an Outlaw Pro Mod drag race like that before. They don't know it exists. And I want those guys, I want to put it in front of their face. I want them to see it.
I agree.
I think that's how it grows.
And we've talked about that with some of the categories that we're going to announce in the coming weeks, some of our complimentary shows that we're going to have involved with this event. That's exactly what we're going for, is grabbing smaller communities or emerging communities that exist in the drag racing space and bringing them into this event and making them guilty by association, and hopefully setting the hook, and putting some of these guys that have fast street cars or small tire cars or what have you, setting the hook and maybe putting them on a trajectory where they're going, one of these days, I want to race the World Series of Pro Mod.
We want them to dream of this. We want them to feel like, I want to do that one day, because they may be the future of this sport. We don't know. We don't know who it's going to be. There's kids that are going to be in junior dragsters that may be the next Stevie Fast or the next Tommy Franklin or the next Jim Halsey or the next Lizzie Musey. We have no idea. So I want to just put it in front of as many people as possible. And honestly, like when, the Pro Mod class is called to the lanes, I want to look in the stands and I want to see all the fans, and I want to see the racers in those stands that are in other classes. Just like, I want them to feel what I felt. I really do. And I'm seriously passionate about that.
I agree wholeheartedly. Vic, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Get back to your racecation. We'll be obviously talking a bunch more in the coming days and weeks, but guys, mark it down. March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, a few days that will live forever in infamy. The biggest, richest Pro Mod drag race in the history of the known universe. It's going down at Bradenton Motorsports Park, man. Thanks, Vic.
Thank you, guys.
All right, dude. We'll talk to you soon. All right, Mike T. We got some more World Series of Pro Mod business to tend to here, right?
This is going to be fun, man. Let's why don't we start with some of these invites that we're going to be giving out?
Yeah, man. Let's go ahead and do it. And I want to set the stage here for a moment, and if y'all will entertain me. And this story is well worn at this point, but it's a true story.
It's a great story.
The very first person that I called when we kicked the doors open at Drag Illustrated to buy an ad in this magazine is a guy that lives in Jefferson City, Missouri. He had supported me for a few years in my humble racing promotion efforts at Eddyville Raceway Park. And whenever we decided to start Drag Illustrated, I knew we needed to sell some ads. And I knew a guy that had a business in outlaw drag racing. And I rang his phone, and I remember telling him, we don't have the magazine done yet, but I promise it's going to be badass. I promise. And he told me, we still do that, right? And he goes, I believe in you, Wes. Send me an invoice. And this gentleman has been a part of the Drag Illustrated family ever since. 178 issues of Drag Illustrated we've sent to print, and every single one of them has carried his brand with it. And it felt, in my opinion, I'm going to put him a little bit on the hot seat here because I'm not sure that his car is even done. But I wanted to make sure that the very first invite to the world, I'm going to try not to fucking cry. I wanted to make sure that the very first invite to the World Series of Pro Mod went to the same guy that believed in me 17 years ago as we embark on this next chapter of the Drag Illustrated journey. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's find out if Micke will accept an invitation to the World Series of Pro Mod right here in front of the world. What do you think, big dog?
Up, Mark?
What's up, guys?
Will you come race for $100,000 March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2023?
Hell yeah. Man,
you in?
For you guys, if you were paying $5, I'd be there to race. Dude. I mean, that's the truth. So you guys are awesome, especially with Vic involved. I mean, come on. This is like, I don't know, the perfect dream team you guys have put together for this deal. I mean, I'm pumped. I'm excited. Absolutely, we will be there. Our new car will be done. Hopefully, we'll be able to test and beat the crap out of it a bunch before that. So, yeah.
Don't beat it up too bad.
Yeah, don't tear it up too bad. Yeah. Well, and, the thing that I'm super excited about is you hold the record, and I'm sure you've seen it, or I hope you have. You hold the record for the fastest pass ever made on drag radials in the 8th mile, 221.20 mile per hour down there at Valdosta, Georgia, South Georgia Motorsports Park, the house that Ozzie Moya and Donald Long built. And for me, I'm so excited that someone who has flied the radial flag for so long, to bring you into this space as almost a representative. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how I'm envisioning this, is I want to see the racers that show up from PDRA right, to wave their PDRA flag. I want people that come from the small tire ranks to wave their small tire flag. I want people that come from NMCA and NEOPMA and NPK or wherever they may roam. I want them to be proud of the community they're part of and come to Bradenton and represent that brand. And it's cool to see one of the most celebrated guys in radial racing history move into Pro Mod and being a part of this race, man. I'm genuinely excited about it.
Oh yeah, like I said. Well, don't forget now. We won an NMCA Pro Mod championship.
Yeah.
Pro Street. So, we've done good and everything. But yeah, we kind of took this big tire challenge on, and hopefully, your race will be a perfect place to showcase what hopefully we can do with it. So.
What do you make of, I'm getting a lot of text already, which is exciting, but a lot of support. The quarter mile versus eighth mile thing is such a polarizing debate, right? And historically, Drag Illustrated, we've done our events quarter mile. There's no denying that is, largely the well-known barometer, the yardstick that exists in drag racing. It's a quarter mile. But do you agree that we're seeing fast door slammer racing massively gravitate towards the eighth mile? I mean, there's about one place to run a quarter mile car anymore in HRA, but there's tons of places to race eighth mile. I mean, do you support that decision?
Oh, 100%. That's where all your badass Pro Mod guys are in the eighth mile. So, if you want the best of the best, eighth mile, period. And your quarter mile guys, they're badass in the eighth anyway. That's going to showcase everybody. There's no excuses for anybody. If you do it eighth mile, here you go, guys. This is it. So
that was kind of
I think that's the right call. So
because it's like people will quarter mile racers will run eighth mile, but a lot of those 8 mile guys won't run quarter mile, right?
Exactly.
And I think
they don't have the tune-ups. Yeah, so it's not fair.
They don't have the experience. It's not fair. And I don't think this gets talked about enough, but this is something you and I've discussed. There's 100. We keep a running total of how many Pro Mod teams have earned points during the season and every season. And this year, there's been 177 individual teams earn points in Pro Modified competition in North America alone so far in 2022. And there's still some races left to go. There's no greater inventory. I mean, I look at this and I go, where does the inventory exist to really build something? Because as I said, when we had Victor on here, I feel like we're just getting started. This is our first event of who knows what it could become, right? So This is a great group of people. I mean, can you speak to that just for a moment, Mark? I mean, you do business, obviously selling transmissions, torque converters, shifters to all these teams that exist in fast door slammer drag racing. I mean, do you agree that it's without question the strongest division that exists in pro level racing?
Yeah, and I think you and I've talked. So we keep track of where we're building stuff, where our customer base is. And, we started really in the drag radial hardcore, and that was just our niche. But I'm telling you, watching it now, Pro Mod is the fastest growing part of door slammer drag racing. And I judge that by the amount of parts we're selling, transmissions we have out there, the amount of races we're going to that are Pro Mod. So, yeah, I mean, and it's done a good job. All the rule makers and different organizations on 8th Mile have really similar rules. So it's easy to bring all the guys together. You can get a Midwest Pro Mod guy can come in, and a PDRA guy can come in, and an NMCA guy can come in, and really their cars, they don't have to do a whole lot with what I'm assuming the rules you guys are going to have for that. It's going to give everybody their best shot at showing what they have and what kind of performances they can throw down. So
I promise you guys, we're going to see an absolute gunfight unfold. Speak to a little bit about Bradenton Motorsports Park, Mike Bowman Racing. Yes, we did say $100,000 winner take all, and we do some fun shit with the World Series of Pro Mod. And one of the things I do, and it's all in good fun, but I will send you a contract, Mark, that I expect you to sign. That is our driver contract, and it's much similar to a UFC fighter or a boxer signing a bout agreement. But it's largely for fun and games. But at the very bottom, and I mean it when I say it, I'm writing one check, not a check to 6 different guys, right? Yep. You guys, if you guys want to split, you can do it on your own. We pay one winner, and it's that type of winner take all situation that brings the best out in everybody and gets people fired up. What do you make of that? I mean, do you love the opportunity to go down there and know that you're either getting $100,000 or you're going home pretty pissed off?
Well, yeah. I mean, look at we were fortunate to win the 101. There was no deals, no splits. It was, we looked at it. Hey, how many how many opportunities do I get in my lifetime as a racer to run for $100,000 to win? So, and it's all a big gamble anyway. So what the hell, put it all on red or black and go. So yeah, no, I'm telling you, that's the way to do it. 100,000, that's it. Nothing else. And then it means something, in my opinion, too. You can, if you won that, and it's a massive deal. So
it is, man. Well, Mark, I appreciate you very much. Thank you for all your support over the years, dude. Seriously, it's been an amazing thing to think about how long we've been doing this stuff together. So thank you so much, and we'll obviously be in touch, dude. And I can't wait to see you. Are we going to get you to PRI? We'd love to have you there. Are you coming this year?
Yeah, I'm going to come
Sweden or Norway or something.
Well, I might come up for Friday. Yeah, my daughter's. I got to kind of avoid getting sick at PRI because I got to go see my daughter. But I'll be there for a day.
Okay. So, well, we'd love to have you. All right.
Yeah, we got something special on Friday, so I got to be up there. So.
Okay, good. Well, we're going to need you there on Friday as well. So.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's one. So.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much, Mark.
No problem.
Congrats, dude.
Pumped. Yep. We'll. Thanks for doing this, man. Home run.
No problem, dude.
So,
we're just getting started, brother. Thanks, Mark. Talk soon. JT, Mike, I want to take a second here and remind everybody that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety products, from drag chutes and seatbelts to fire suits, gloves and blankets. Most importantly, all 100% made in America. Log on to StroudSafety.com and make sure you tell them we sent you. Guys, so far so good. I mean, my phone, I don't know about you two, but I've gotten about 75 texts here in the last 8 minutes or so.
They'll start texting us. Whenever you can't get back to him quick enough, then they start blowing up.
I'm going to get the Reaper treatment, right? Yeah. I'm going to have Reaper all mad for not answering his calls or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Reaper's trying to holler at you right now.
If he knew so much about how to get on that show, then why the hell isn't he on it anymore? I didn't even watch that shit. Like, really?
I didn't watch it either.
Yeah.
I had people text me about it, but it's like, I ain't watching it. I mean, the truth is...
He's getting his Christmas cards ready. You're on his
I'm probably not going to get one. I'm probably not going to get one from him. Hey, I've always liked him. We get along, and whenever he said, I haven't heard it, but I haven't watched it. But someone told me that I didn't call him back or something, or he was trying to get me involved. The only time I ever talked to him, there was like a big controversy going on, and I chose not to be a part of it. Made that decision. So it's like people forget, we put the Street Outlaws on the cover of the magazine like 10 years ago. Like in 2016, not quite 10 years ago, but I mean, a long time ago. There's this weird thing where people think that like we weren't on board. Drag Illustrated wasn't supportive of No Prep Kings early on. I mean, I don't know where that comes. I've had multiple people tell me, "Oh, you were pretty hard on those guys early on." I don't really recall that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't recall not being on board ever. I've been a huge fan. Matter of fact, it took some serious heat. I mean, do you guys remember all the emails and all the drama that came from putting the Street Outlaws on the cover?
Absolutely.
I thought we were going to go out of business. I was scared to death. People were pissed.
Amazing. It's amazing how much the perception has changed since then. I think No Prep Kings has helped with that by racing on the track. But I think everyone understands that that's a TV show now, and that, this is good for drag racing, and it brings exposure to a mainstream audience, like we keep saying. But yeah, the whole deal, our comments tend to get taken out of context.
Yeah.
Because right after the comment that we made, if any comment we made was perceived as negative, we had 15 positive things to say, as we always do, about everything they're doing over at MPK. So I don't get the whole deal, but it is what it is.
I think, and here's the thing and there's two ways, and I'm not trying to be like getting, up on the tire or pissy about anything, but it's like, we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. If we talk about MPK, we're clout chasing. If we don't talk about MPK, we're not treating them the same way we treat NHRA and PDRA and other sanctions and series. So there's no winning, man. I mean, we're big fans of that scene. We were both at the race this past weekend. I communicate with Sam Corcus at Pilgrim Studios fairly regularly. I mean, I'm a big believer in what they're doing, and we've been influenced by No Prep King No Prep Kings and Street Outlaws for a long time. I mean, for those that don't know, if you read through the press release on dragillustrated.com about the World Series of Pro Mod, I mean, our race is invite only because we've seen that model work time and time and time again. Invitationals are difference makers. When it means something to be involved, to be invited, that has a massive impact on the outcome of an event. So I think that it's I don't know. I think that we've learned a lot. We're doing chip draws, right? We're doing chip draw.
And we were on a fine line. I mean, we did put them on the cover, when it was Street Outlaws, because they were helping the sport and fast cars and drag racing and everything. But we're also on a thin line there, between hardcore drag racing and then you have street racing over here, and we have sponsors we have to, and advertisers that we have to answer to as well, so if they don't want to promote that type of racing, so it was a fine line.
It is. It's tough. And I remember, the street racing stuff is hard to endorse. I mean, if we're talking like openly about it, it is hard to endorse that. Like, I appreciate what they're doing and I understand that it's as controlled as they can make it, but it is a little bit troubling. You know what I mean? It's just a tough situation for us as Drag Illustrated and ambassadors of the sport of drag racing. And that's why it's been easy to get behind NPK, because they've taken that same type of environment and brought it to the racetrack. I love all these back of the track events. I know those are also dangerous, but it's super exciting racing. It's a massively leveled playing field, if you will. So I just think it's I'm a big fan of the no prep movement, and I think that it's done a lot for our sport. And we've argued right here on this show that it may be the biggest platform that exists in drag racing. But I got to tell you, that's why World Series of Pro Mod exists, because I see plenty of guys who have either tried to be involved in that series or have looked for opportunities like that and not been able to get it done. And I want to provide that opportunity. I want to provide that platform to the racing community, someplace to go race for big money under bright lights on a grand stage at a highly publicized event, along with $100,000. Our winner will be immortalized on the cover of Drag Illustrated magazine. I mean, there's a lot that comes with this, and
and there's a lot we've learned. I'm excited. We learned a lot in Denver. We learned a lot in Orlando with the events that we've had, and I'm excited to get back to it and apply a lot of that to the World Series of Pro Mod in Bradenton.
For sure.
No, I agree. I mean,
we always have a good time too. We have a party.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's why people get salty, because we're steady always having a good time. Mike and I talk about this. Like, you never see us not having a lot of fun. So we have a ton of fun.
And that's full-time job.
I try to keep it down kill, but
no, we do have fun, man. That's what it's about.
I try.
I think that's the feedback I've always gotten more than anything from our races, is that was the most fun that I had at a drag race, or that was the best drag race, that it was the atmosphere, the environment was relaxed, and I think it's a departure from what everyone's used to.
No, agreed. And again, going back to my point earlier in the show, is that I want it to be complementary. Like, I think there's so many great things going on in our sport. Like, our next guest, the owner of the Professional Drag Racing Association, the PDRA, they have a fantastic thing going on. They're headed into their 10th year. I mean, it's incredible what they've done. Northeast Outlaw Pro Mods, John Mazzarana, a group that's 30 years strong. NMCA never gets their flowers, not the way they deserve to. That's a deal that has stood the test of time, has produced a number of stars. I mean, that was Pat Musey's original home, or one of them. So, I mean, you think about all these things that are going on in the sport. And then I look at specifically the NHRA, the Fuel Tech NHRA Pro Mod Drag Racing Series. What they lack in numbers, they more than make up for in enthusiasm and commitment. You think about the guys who have sponsored races themselves and gone to great lengths to keep that series afloat for years and years and years. It's incredible what it's become. So to be able to have an opportunity to bring people from all those different cliques and communities together once a year, who knows what happens next, but man, I'm genuinely excited about it. And I got a little bit more World Series of Pro Mod business I want to tend to here real quick. Let's throw this at another guy, a multi-time world championship racer, a guy who has done a tremendous amount for the sport of drag racing, a longtime friend of ours and a big supporter of ours here at Drag Illustrated. Let's see if Tommy Franklin wants to come to the World Series of Pro Mod.
Oh yeah,
let's do it.
Hey Tommy,
up, Tommy?
Quick question.
What's going on, man?
Quick question. Would you be interested in coming to Bradenton, Florida, the first weekend in March, 3rd, 4th, and 5th to be exact, and running for $100,000?
That's kind of a crazy question. Who wouldn't, right?
Good deal. So it's official. It's locked in.
Sure.
All right, man.
Awesome.
That's the answer I need. What do you make of? I mean, obviously, we could talk for hours about all that you guys have. What do you say? accomplished with the PDRA, and we're super excited to kind of borrow your format, man. I mean, what you guys have done for outlaw 8th mile drag racing cannot be overstated. We're excited to adopt that format, right? To go where there's a large community of cars. I mean, you roll into every one of the PDRA national events with nearly 40 pro mods at the bare minimum, right? 40 pro mods, not to mention pro stock and pro street and all these other categories. It's incredible what you guys have built, and we're really excited to see you, and I'm sure a host of others, come fly the PDRA flag at the World Series of Pro Mod. Are you excited to see? I mean, is it going to mean something more to you? Like, even if maybe you don't win it, do you want to see one of your PDRA brethren win it?
Definitely. I mean, that's one of the things I've thought about sitting there, thinking about the whole deal, and it becomes, hey, I want one of my guys to win that deal, and I want to be arrogant and say I'll put it up that one of my guys is going to win it, just because they're. I've said it in multiple interviews, multiple times. I'll stack our racers up against anyone. It's just what's been accomplished in the last 10 years of PDRA is just unreal, and I mean, we're just a piece of it. There's a ton of people that add to this class and this sport, and just to be able to carry it on and take it to another level, I feel like that the competition level is unreal. And I mean, you see it at every race in, race out, and it's cool to be a part of it. This thing goes back into the match racing days, and there's obviously a ton of history, and I mean, Mike knows all about that, and that's what got us here, and we're just going to continue this legacy and keep it going. But the competition levels are high, and just the quality of cars and quality of people that race in the PDRA is really cool. So yeah, I'll be in this one, I get to sit there and race and not worry about the politics. That's your job, Wes. It's great. And so I'm gonna first and foremost go for the $100,000. But if it's not me, I'll definitely be pulling for one of my PDRA teams for sure.
Do you feel that the sport of drag racing needs these large independent events? I think of like Donald Long's Lights Out, what that has become in our industry, right? Jason Miller's World Cup finals this weekend. These independent events that kind of bring everybody out of the woodwork, that give people something to look forward to. And I think an event that has kind of thrown its proverbial hat into the ring along those lines is the Pro Stars, the PDRA Pro Stars event right at your track, Virginia Motorsports Park, as something that's more of a thrill show, a limited time engagement. I know that's been a big growth, growth point for the PDRA, right? I mean, bringing that event into the fold, the concert, and all the bells and whistles that you guys added to that. Are you excited to see another independent promotion arrive in the sport?
Yeah, I think for me, what it's about is just giving the notoriety to these teams that are out here running it. We all know that, anybody that knows the deal and watches the races understand the quality of the teams and how good they are, but do they get the publicity that they deserve? So that's what these do. Just like you mentioned on Pro Stars, that's the exact 100% reason was, hey, let's give these guys a pat on the back and a thank you, and a single stage alone, just to be able to go and say, hey, this is what you are. Let's put you on top and display you. And that's very similar to what you're doing here. You're saying, hey guys, there's couple hundreds of pro mod cars out here. We're gonna isolate them and kind of put them out here, and that doesn't belittle any of the others, because there's going to be so many teams that still want to get in. But the point is, hey, we got to pick somewhere, and you do this. So I think that's what's great about it, is just giving the platform that it deserves. We all know that it's not for lack of spending money. It's not for lacking of spending effort or time or anything else. So that's, everybody's putting their part in it. So yeah, I think it's very worthy of every race team out there to be able to race on a big stage with a big purse and given the platform and given the notoriety that it deserves.
What would it mean to you to win $100,000? You're a guy who's done a whole lot of winning, but does it get you in your feels? Does it get you excited to think about rolling into the staging beams with $100,000 on the line?
It does. Money's obviously a big part of it. I think we all could be honest and say that we do it for the love of turning on wind lights and things like that. But when you have 6 digits up there, that's a game changer. It is, and Yeah, I mean, cool. Just the feeling inside it is when you light that second bulb and knowing that, hey, here it goes. I'm either the winner or the loser. You know, 2 go down, 1 come back. We say it all the time. So it's but to be able to turn on that win light, and you've done this with a couple other your races, I mean, that's huge for those people, and they'll remember that forever. So I mean, it's a great thing what you're providing and doing. And you know, we always talk about what you give back to the sport, and that's what it's about here is you know, giving back, putting it on that level. And yeah, as a racer, yeah, it's cool as can be. Racing for $100,000 and winning $100,000 would be even cooler.
It would be, man. Well, Tommy, thank you so much. That was what I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to have you on here and just kind of flex the muscle of this event right now, because here as we sit in this very moment, we have 2 racers that are world championship racers that have operated in different circles. And I ask my fans, I mean, imagine a scenario where Tommy Franklin and Micke roll into the beams alongside one another. That is something that you're only going to see more than likely at Bradenton Motorsports Park, March 3rd, 4th, and 5th at the World Series of Pro Mod. Tommy, thank you so much. I appreciate your support and your belief in what we're doing. And I look forward to seeing you at the PRI show, the banquet. For those that don't know, I think PDRA, perhaps the best, one of the best sanctioning bodies in all of drag racing, but definitely the best banquet throwers. I think Mike and JT will back me up.
It's all about the party, right?
It's all about the party. The best banquet in drag racing goes down on Friday night, the PDRA Championship banquet. We'll see you there, buddy. Thank you. Tell your better half hello. We appreciate you more than you know.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tommy.
Yep. Bye.
Mike, JT, man, we have blown through this in it seems it's hard to believe an hour and 25 minutes have already gone by, and we've still got a little bit of stuff to cover. I think let's go into just some Q&A stuff. I see Kevin Stevenson here saying, Wes, are you doing first round call outs? That would spice it up. We're actually going to do chip draw every round. So first round, second round, third round will all be chip draws. It'll be a 32-car field. We're inviting 40 teams to participate in the World Series of Pro Mod. We will qualify. We will run 2 sessions on Friday, 2 sessions on Saturday, and we'll bring the 32 quickest cars back to do battle for $100,000 on Sunday. For us, it's really important to make sure that everybody gets to spend ample time on the track. We'll provide 2 days of testing to all of our competitors on Wednesday and Thursday to ensure that our fans see cars that are ready to rock and roll, cars that are ready to make world record passes and do battle for $100,000. And then on Saturday night, after our field is set, that night, it's going to be a real moment, in my opinion, to watch these drivers draw numbers, draw chips to find out who they face the next day in the opening round of eliminations. And we will bring them back, our winners, after every round and do the same thing again until our final round pairing is determined. So it's going to be Sunday. I truly believe March 5th, 2023 is going to be one of the greatest moments in the history of drag racing. I know that's a bold statement, but I truly believe it. When you put that kind of money, when you put this kind of passion and enthusiasm behind a project, man, special things start to happen. So we also are going to have an 8-car shootout for our non-qualifiers. I love my drag racing family, and anybody that comes down to Florida and supports this team and supports the World Series of Pro Mod deserves to get to race. So we will have a second chance race for our 8 non-qualifiers so that everybody that participates in the World Series of Pro Mod gets to race on Sunday. We're excited about it. I'm trying to we will be making some announcements in the coming days as far as our supporting categories. We have another, what I believe to be a pretty significant happening that's going to drop in the next couple of days. Some sponsor announcements. This is going to be a fantastic
we've got
thing.
A ton of sponsor support. Lots of displays on the midway. That's something you and I have talked about a lot. That we've always felt is something that's gone a little bit by the wayside. But back in the day, the midway, having the support from all the sponsors there, maybe even some hospitality, some VIP options for fans that will be attending. And man, it's we're 120 days out right now. So not to scare anybody,
Log on to worldseriespromod.com for more information. And yes, no Prep Kings jokes. It's going to be one hell of a show. And we're working hard to make sure the people that are invited to this event really are difference makers. I mean, there's so many good cars in the country right now. So you almost have to look beyond that. You have to look at social following. You have to look at what they're doing in the industry, how active they are, maybe their track record, or where they roam and their significance there. I got some exciting things to announce about some people that have already accepted invitations that, are difference makers, needle movers, as we say. So it's exciting, man. 120 days. Yeah, Nancy doing the terrified
John
emoji.
Neal says, don't count on Ricky Smith showing up if we're doing a chip draw. Hey, I actually think Ricky's problem was that they changed it the day of or whatever that was. I don't think he's against a chip draw. So
I think Ricky,
if Ricky is not retired, we'll see if he gets an invite.
We'll see. I think Ricky has to get invited if he doesn't retire. Not that we're going to kind of air out our inner workings here. Man,
no,
that dude.
I just thought that was an interesting comment.
No, it is. And you're 100% right. When I talked to Ricky, he told me that had he known that the chip draw was going to be the play a month in advance or a couple of weeks, he wouldn't have had a problem with it. But I see a comment here from John Neal watching along on YouTube, and I appreciate all you guys following us on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We really appreciate the support. We're trying to grow our YouTube page. I will say that we're probably going to crest 400,000 followers in the next 5-7 days on Drag Illustrated. We're growing to the tune of like 15,000 likes a month right now, 20,000 at times. So it's pretty exciting times for us here at Drag Illustrated. But I can't remember what we were talking about. Oh, Tony Stewart and
you got excited about those numbers.
It is exciting, man. It's been growing
because we were late to the party on the social media thing. I mean, usually we're not late to the party on things, but.
No, we were a little late to, man, we just didn't get active on social until after the company went public, and it really changed everything for us. A lot of the people that grew, people that grew early. The people that grew on social got those big numbers before the company went public, because that's when everything kind of changed and became more of a pay to play platform. But we've grown over 100,000 followers since June, which I'm really excited about. But anyways, Chris Costanza, Nitrous and Bradenton in March. Ricky cannot retire yet. The point I want to make about John Neal's comment, he says, I still want to see Tony Stewart in a Pro Mod car. Me too. And that's why this event is in existence, because I want to create an opportunity for guys to come run one race, to come run a single event, maybe not compete for points in NHRA or PDRA or wherever, but to come be a part of a single event. And I think it's like the Chili Bowl. Right? I mean, there's some of these circle track or sprint car races that you see Ron Capps drive in, or Cruz Pedregon drive in, or Doug Coletta compete in. That's what I want to create with the World Series of Pro Mod. And none of this is confirmed. I'm just dreaming out loud here. That is exactly what I would want to have happen. I want my phone to ring and it be Tony Stewart saying, hey, $100,000. I want one. I want in. I'll find a car to rent or whatever. And that's the cool thing about Pro Modified right now.
His wife is driven a Pro Mod.
His wife's driven a Pro Mod.
Maybe put his wife in one.
If my dream came true, the World Series of Pro Mod would eventually become an event where you might see Ron Capps in a Pro Mod car, right? Yeah. You might see Matt Hagan in a Pro Mod car.
He's driven.
You might see Leah Pruitt in a Pro Mod car.
A lot
especially
of
some of these folks,
that go through that.
And I think that would be. That's the goal, is to create an event that people from all walks of the racing life want to be a part of, want to compete in, and who knows what comes next. I've got some pretty big, when I say World Series, I mean world. I have international aspirations with this deal. And I think there's a ton of opportunity. And again, when I go back to the number of good cars, there are so many teams in this sport in Pro Modified style drag racing that I think deserve this opportunity. So guys, I'm genuinely excited about it. I can't wait. I'm kind of glad I feel about 10 pounds lighter. I've been carrying this around.
I know. The pressure's been high leading up to today. We tried to talk ourselves out of it again, right?
And Kevin Stevenson is saying, I'd love to see a no prep race like this where all comers are welcome if they meet the rules. That's essentially what we're after. And and that may be on deck. I'm not totally sure, but for us, this is a brand of drag racing that I'm particularly proud of. Mike and I, this is all we've been around most of our lives. It's something that we've supported in every way that we knew how. And I do think that this is a class of drag racing that can carry us into the future. I've told you guys before that when I look around sometimes at NHRA national events, I can't help but wonder how long we're going to be able to do some of this, right? The cars are so fast. They're so expensive to run. You got to buy your fuel basically from Homeland Security. You think about the nuances of Top Fuel and Funny Car and how difficult that is. I want to provide a pathway for some of those teams to get major league visibility, major league sponsorship involvement, but do it in doorslammer drag racing. I think these are cars that Pro Modified cars that look like cars. We're not going to have a bunch of stuff that just looks like wedges or lawn darts, right? These are going to be cars that look like cars. They got swinging doors on them. The driver's on the left-hand side, just as God intended. They got big tires and wheelie bars, just as God intended. I mean, this is drag racing. If the sport of drag racing wanted to put its best foot forward, in my opinion, it puts its pro mod foot forward. And I want to support that. We're going to see Mustangs and Camaros and Chevelles. And it's
how cool would it be with some of these cars if they did cross over to come run pro mod to be like wrapped, in their scheme that they have their Top Fuel or their funny car or whatever.
We should hit up Rod Burke and put some of those dreams and do like a rendering of, a CUDA with or a Supra or whatever with Ron Capps, a Ron Capps Pro Mod Supra. And I think about, the Dodge relationship. We could see Matt Hagan in a CUDA or Tony Stewart in a CUDA. Man, some of that stuff would be absolutely fantastic, dude.
Drag Racing Central was asking what other classes will be there. We've got some announcements coming in the next few days as far as that
goes. One
of
my main concerns was with the complementary offerings as far as other categories of drag racing. I want to make sure that our pro mod cars are clearly the stars of the show. I don't want there to be a ounce of confusion as to what are the quickest and fastest cars on the property and who are the drivers of those cars. So I've kind of got it in my head that I don't really want anything else on the property that could be mistaken for a pro mod. Does that make sense? I don't really want a bunch of cars that could easily be mistaken for a pro modified car or a World Series of Pro Mod competitor. I want them to stand out from the crowd. So that's going to be one of the things that we kind of consider with every class, that we add to the fold. I've got some.
Can we go ahead and lock in the reverse race?
Can we go ahead and confirm that? Nate's already asked about it. Alicia's asked about it.
Yeah, Nate's.
Well, I guess we're bringing back the reverse race. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but this was the brainchild of Sporty Bandamere out at Bandamere Speedway, and just something fun. So we did a rental car reverse race essentially to the 330s. It was a 330-foot drag race in reverse.
Nate found his calling on the drag strip that night.
Yes, and it was
he definitely didn't find a helmet that fit him.
No, still working on that.
Yeah, but listen, man, that we're going to have a lot of fun stuff, but I will tell you this. I also don't want an enormous event. I want it to be enormous in terms of like publicity, scale, and fanfare, but I don't want 500 race cars on the property. It's not because I don't want, this isn't the event for that. Looking at the things that are existing, the things that are thriving in our space right now, I really think a quick, concise show, 3 days is not at all short, but 2 sessions on Friday, 2 sessions on Saturday, run a race on Sunday, and get it over with. Get people out, on their way home, get people out to dinner at night. All of those things are, in my opinion, very important. And I want to make sure that this is something that we can run on schedule, that we're not overwhelmed with a certain amount of cars in a certain category or whatever. I just really want to I would rather have moments of downtime.
We want it to be a show.
You know what I mean? I want it to be a show, a production,
Yep.
So anyways, will it be just pro mods? There will be other classes, Captain Lucky 23, absolutely, that we will announce in the coming days. I got the classes that we're involving. I'm very excited about. There are other classes that I'm exceptionally passionate about that I think will be a perfect complement to what we're trying to do. We got one fairly major announcement that I believe we're going to be able to make in the next week or two. So stay tuned, guys. That's going to be a barn burner, guaranteed. I also have this. We can do this. How about this, T? Bam.
There you go.
There we go. Just
Jason Duke says he's going to Ross Chastain that shit in the reverse race.
That's the way to do it.
You don't have to work very hard to get in the wall in the reverse race, man. That deal's kind of sketchy.
It's very sketchy. I've had a lot of conversations about that Ross Chastain deal. Big fan of it, but I also understand why it's probably something that can't be allowed to happen again in the future. But anyways, great question here from Drag Racing Central.
Interesting moving forward.
Unless
they do something with that.
Why Bradenton in particular? Yeah, I have. I did yesterday. Why Bradenton in particular? Also, did you ever think to rotate it in the future so people across the country can see? A couple of things. Bradenton, for some of the reasons we mentioned at the beginning of the show, Vic Alvarez is a guy that's making massive investments in his facility, and that's important to us. I want our racers to race at a safe facility, a fast facility. We've got a brand new concrete surface there in Bradenton. We've got concrete guard walls. We have brand new aluminum grandstands. I mean, there's a lot of investment that he's made, a lot of improvements that Vic Alvarez and the team at Bradenton Motorsports Park have made. Wade Rich, from a track prep perspective, arguably one of the best in the business. I'm excited to have him involved in the race. And it's also just that locale. You talk about Florida in early March. You're going to have killer weather conditions. It's a destination part of the country. It's easy to get to. You can fly into any of those Orlando airports, and Orlando specifically, super cheap to fly into. So those are the things that were important to us. We also feel, I'm a big believer in date equity. And when I looked around at where we could go the first weekend in March, I think it's important that I don't want to get ourselves into a situation where we're contending with other weekends, right? Where we're competing against the NHRA, where we're competing against PDRA, or competing against Midwest, or competing against any of these sanctions or series. So being first to market, I felt was really, really important to be a race that's early in the season, that's not going to mess with everybody's other operations. I mean, we're obviously butted right up to the NHRA Gator Nationals, but that still, there are going to be some teams that'll be down in that neck of the woods anyways, so it makes sense for them to be involved. But yeah, that's Bradenton just felt like a place that we could build a future together. I love that part of the country. Florida has an incredible racing fan base. The race fans down there, I mean, look no further than Sick Week, World Street Nationals, all these events that go on in that part of the country. Man, the race fans down there are rabid. So I think we'll get a lot of local support, but that part of the country lends itself to people traveling down there. So that's kind of the reason.
Paula Adkin is asking, where do you get tickets?
You'll be able to buy tickets in the coming days at worldseriesofpromod.com. Our tickets and VIP experiences will launch very, very soon. So I would say we're about 10 days out from tickets going on sale.
Once we saw these improvements that Vic was making to the track, the wheels started to turn. And once we saw, I think, a few of those videos of everything that was going on, it kind of made this whole deal a no-brainer.
And we've been wanting to do something with him anyway, so.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, and it's really about the right people, the right time, the right place. I want to check as many boxes as we can with this event. So giving teams an opportunity to test leading up to the race. We're also going to have teams, we're going to provide an opportunity to test after the race, because we also know that some of our teams will need to be able to change from outlaw to legal setups, the ones that are headed to the Gator Nationals the next weekend, which will be the start of the NHRA season. We're going to afford those teams an opportunity to test on Monday and Tuesday after the race, so that they can get back into legal trim if they're running the same car. A lot of these guys have an outlaw car and a legal car, but that is the plan right now. Shane Ard saying something about Cletus. We do have some plans with Cletus down there, so we're very excited about it.
Will it be on Flow? TG Motorsports asks.
It will be announced. Our streaming partner and our plan for live streaming will be announced very soon. Spencer Allen, RV Parking and Camping Tickets. Absolutely.
Won't be me this year.
It won't be JT this year. There was another one. Have we thought about moving the event to different tracks? That is my dream. That's my dream, is to rotate it around something to the effect of the Super Bowl. But I really want to plant our flag in Bradenton. I just think that's a part of the country.
Especially for this date.
For this date.
It makes sense for this date.
It does. I mean, and if people want to know, if we're just talking, I would like to see this expand to 2 races, maybe 3 races. And I really want satellite events. I want to franchise our rules, that these are the World Series of Pro Mod rules that we run. Right. And I want to allow other tracks to use those rules, acknowledging that they're World Series of Pro Mod rules. And then maybe in the future, the ultimate goal would likely to be to have a spring event and a fall event, but then a slew of small satellite races where we could go to smaller facilities. I think of the Darlingtons, right? I think of some of these smaller tracks, South Georgia, some of the smaller tracks that have a strong fan base, go out west to some of these tracks and be able to run small qualifier events where we piggyback on existing shows. Where, just as an example, maybe we go to Firebird Raceway for the Nightfire Nationals and have an 8-car Pro Mod shootout that's a World Series of Pro Mod qualifier event. How badass would that be? You win the World Series of Pro Mod qualifier during the Nightfire Nationals, and you automatically get a seat at the table come March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, the first weekend in March. That's where I want this to go. I want to have a couple of landmark flagship events Tucson's a great idea, Marty. I want to have a couple of landmark flagship events and then a slew of smaller qualifier events that would happen all around the country, perhaps at smaller venues. Maybe I just let the whole cat out of the bag, but that's the plan. That's the plan.
Just don't listen to that last part.
Yeah, that's the plan. And yeah, Extreme Raceway Park right down here in Dallas, outside of Dallas, Texas, Ferris, Texas. It's probably one of the nicest 8th mile. It's probably the nicest 8th mile. It and Galat, obviously. Galat is a stadium essentially, but Galat's a great example as well. A World Series of Pro Mod qualifier event out there would be fantastic.
Eric is asking who's going to prep the track.
Wade Rich. Largely known as one of the best in the business when it comes to track prep and track consistency throughout the course of an event. So that's something that's near and dear our hearts, is making sure that the track's as good on Friday morning as it is on Sunday afternoon. So that's something that we're really paying close attention to. We've got a slew of people: John Sears, Rock Carzoli, Chris Bell. There's a lot of people that are involved in this event. Al Tucci. I mean, there's a slew of people that will be involved in this event. Joe Costello. There's a lot of recognizable names. We're kind of getting the band back together.
Give me a beautiful smoky burnout, JT.
I can't do it as good as
beautiful. Yeah, but there's just a lot of things that I'm super excited about that I think need to be front and center in the sport of drag racing. So here we go, guys. Here we go. If you are interested in being involved in any way, shape, or form, feel free to reach out to any of us. My email is wes@dragillustrated.com, mike@dragillustrated.com, jt@dragillustrated.com. You can certainly log on to dragillustrated.com or worldseriesoffpromod.com and seek more information. We'll be publishing the rules later today. We are running what are largely considered the snowbird rules. There may be some adjustments made, but we're pretty content with that rule set, where a lot of different combinations can be competitive. John Neal, yes, 8th mile is where it's at, buddy. So Mile and Dragway would be a fantastic one for. That's my
Norwalk
dream.
Was another suggestion. I mean, all these are
Norwalk's
great.
huge. We would have to have a major event at Norwalk. Yeah. We couldn't do a small one. However, what would be awesome, imagine this, is in the summer during the night of fire at Norwalk, do an 8-car World Series of Pro Mod qualifier event, and the winner of that event would get to race at our fall race or the race the next spring. So that's kind of where this whole thing is headed. But yeah, man, super excited. Are you guys excited?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
We are pumped up.
What else do we have to cover?
We had to convince you to do this race, didn't we, JT? We've been working on this, trying to get this going. Wes didn't want to do a race. No, I'm just kidding. Everyone can tell he's fired up.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to do, but I did. It has weighed on me, right? Like just to right time, right part of the country, and I just felt like I needed a handful of things to fall into place, and it sometimes really has.
Sometimes we don't even know. We just like show up at PRI, and then all of a sudden there's a press release.
Yeah, that has
or a press conference. And they're like, "Hey, we're having a race." I'm like, what? Yeah, in 90 days. You're like, what?
That was the first thing Alicia said. Is she goes, Can we do it? Like, can you get it announced so we have a little bit more time than normal? And I'm like,
no shit.
Thanks, honey. I'm on it.
120 days instead of 90, Alicia. We got you 30.
Yeah. We got you 30 extra
at least we knew about it. Like some stuff's been worked on already. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
me and JT were in the hotel room in PRI. And JT showed his phone over to me. He said, have you heard about this? And I said, nope, but got it now.
It's like, dude, we're having
better
a
get
race?
Started.
What did you guys make of Ryan Martin winning his 3rd consecutive championship? Kai Kelly finishing 2nd in the No Prep Kings deal for the 3rd straight year in a row. What a deal, man!
Man, that added a lot of excitement this weekend. Especially when Ryan went out first round and left the door open for Kai, even though it was very unlikely. He was going to have to win the race. Get this, he was going to have to win the race. Kai Kelly was, and then he'd have to come back after the finals and run against Ryan Martin for all the marbles. So that was going to be a tall order for everybody. But
I don't even know how they do their points. I mean, here's I guess Reaper can rail on me again here, or whatever. But Ryan's been to 17 finals, and event wins 14. Is that correct?
No, there was only 15 races.
Was there?
I think it was 16. I think they
16.
added that Alabama for 16.
Yeah. 5 stats.
Don't try to do math, JT.
Okay.
Well, the coolest part on it,
it's just like if this is off that stat guy, no prep stat guy, and he's usually pretty accurate. But that many event wins and finals, I mean, that he's definitely went rounds. And so then I was looking at that and I was going, what the hell? Like the next person behind you has 3 wins.
I think Kevin Stevenson could probably help us here, but I think some of them were double points, or maybe the last couple of races at the end of the year were all double points.
Yeah.
And that's when he kind of
things like that. Right. Yeah. And that's where Kai made up some ground.
Yeah.
But it made it interesting. And that's 3 years in a row that Ryan's won, and 3 years in a row that Kai has finished.
They almost need some new blood in there just to like stir it up a little bit. It's great TV to watch, the drama and everything else that goes along with it. But I mean, as far as the racing goes, if you know that he's going to win 90% of the time or something like that, which is just it's a crazy stat, however much it is. But
what about,
I mean, you pretty much know who's the outcome of the racing,
what about Jim Howe?
Yeah,
they're running good, man. And so is Odom.
And so is John Odom. Like Jim's back to back, no prep king wins. John Odom wins the grade 8 on Friday night. Saturday night.
Mills
going to the final.
Yep.
Kayla has been running well.
Yep.
Man, there's a lot of Swanstrom, Will Hoyt, a lot of cars over there making killer
Lizzie
runs.
Kai.
And I think you're only going to see that continue. You're going to see that continue next year. I think the
Jerry
stakes
Bird
are going to be even higher next year.
Lutz won 1.
Jeff Lutz has been running good.
Yep.
Oh, I love seeing Jerry Bird. I know I think he's got a new car maybe, but I love seeing that blue probe out there. I think it really, the one thing that they've got a decent grip on, it seems like, is that the cars, like, they sit up a little higher. They're not down in the weeds like a Pro Mod car, like the steel roof and quarters thing. It definitely, there are some of them that are low slung, but they still have a more of a look like a real car. They've done a great job with a lot of that. And seeing Jim Howe out there with that screw blown deal. Do you have any concern about the screw blower deal, like we've talked about, and Pro Modified become
everything?
Screw blowers ruin everything.
Man, but you can't say that when Ryan's running as well as he does. Yeah. I think they've actually got it all pretty close. I know the nitrous guys want something a little bit. I do think the screw obviously makes the most power and is pulling away. I mean, you can even see on the top end Jim Howe pulling away from these guys. So definitely making the most power, but it's not far off. I don't think any of these combinations are far off. We talked about this last week, and Kevin Stevenson showed us all the combinations were in the top 10 pretty well, dispersed throughout.
The track's somewhat the equalizer. We talked about that.
Man, that track is good though. I was up there checking that out on Saturday and Sunday, and I mean that thing is good. And everyone that tunes a car that runs on that track, especially in Texas this past weekend, were impressed with how good it was.
I was wondering if they would be able to make it bad enough a couple of weeks after an NHRA race. You know what I mean? And because it did seem like a lot of cars were making really good runs. When I was at that event last year, I mean, it was like guard wall to center line and back the whole way down through there. And we saw a lot of really clean runs, great racing as a whole. I'm anxious to see how
Dave came out with a new car. Dave Comstock.
Oh yeah,
man.
Dave. Yep.
I feel like I like that. I'm an Audi guy. Like, I like that car a lot, but I was a little surprised by the car choice. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just can't help but see him.
I guess on brand. Is that what you're talking about? For him,
I can't help but see Dave Comstock in a S10 pickup truck.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know what I
mean?
mean?
But at least it's something different, man. I'm not going to knock the guy for doing something different.
I loved it, except for the chrome around the windows, the window trim, and the
color
chrome,
is one of my favorite colors.
I don't know. I thought they kind of missed it there. Modern stuff doesn't really have the chrome.
I really, really love that color. That Brandywine color is one of my favorites. That's a great look on a race car. Thank God it was not flat black or black or something like that.
Yeah.
Some of these cars, they look so good, but no, they just don't photograph well. You know what I mean? They never do. So I'm excited about
They've got a good variety of cars in that deal.
They do.
They really do.
They really do.
They're going to have even more.
What else was I going to ask you guys? There was something else. Well, hey, dude, I think we've made the dent we wanted to make. I want to remind everybody how much we appreciate your support. Yeah. Just to kind of
for everybody just joined, and then we'll roll out.
As so many of our drivers this week are in SEMA or at the SEMA show out in Las Vegas, so we anticipate having a slew of NHRA champions on here next week and the weeks to follow. But yeah, in case you didn't miss it, or in case you missed it, the 2023 World Series of Pro Mod is coming to you March 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2023 at Bradenton Motorsports Park. 100,000 to win, winner take all, invite only, 40 cars enter, 1 leaves. It is going to be the biggest 3 days in the history of drag racing right down there at Bradenton, Florida. So, guys, if you need more information, log on to worldseriesofpromod.com or check out dragillustrated.com. There's going to be a slew of information in the coming days. It's exciting times around here.
Very excited.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
What is this? Promo Tech Isaiah Rose, World Cup Finals, just did a test hit, went 566 at 256. That's stout. That's not with their import car, though, I don't think. Is it? Eduardo, is it? Or is that their nitrous car? Yeah, I believe Jeff Lutz and John Odom are up there at World Cup Finals. Yeah,
Yep.
They are a few of them. Yeah. It's cool. That's kind of part of the concept we were just outlining. I love seeing these events. It's like the NHRA was doing a few years ago when they bring a couple of these cars or those cars or whatever in there to be a part of it. So anyways, guys, thanks for your help. Thanks to everybody. Appreciate the support. All of you that tune in each and every Wednesday. We cannot do this stuff without you guys. Thank you all for sharing the content, being a part of this every Wednesday. We'll see you next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thanks, guys. Talk soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Later.
Doug Johnson, what's up?